A good Monday midday to you on this Christmas Eve day. Roger Hill of Wuthering Heights, VELCO Weather Hazards Forecaster. And this weather video is driven by 802cars.com. They represent 802 Toyota, Twin City Subaru, 802 Honda, all located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89. A little bit of lighter snow shower flurry activity is beginning to progress now from a shortwave trough. You can see this in this 500 hectopascal flow here, and you can see the trough is back here. Typically the moisture in the lifting mechanism is riding on these winds, and indeed this is what we have going on in terms of where it is snowing. You can see the observations here showing a little bit of snow, and we're expecting this just ahead of Christmas Eve. Most snow is probably going to fall very Montpelier area or even south of that point, and then back down into parts of southern New England, where there could be anywhere from dusting to maybe perhaps 2 inches in some locations in some of the mountains around the Berkshires, for example. Maybe parts of southern Vermont. Nothing major, a little bit of whitening just ahead of the Christmas. Checking the 3-kilometer NAM surface product here, showing precipitation type. You can see how this rides up just up to the ridge lines here of the Green Mountains. And this is a blocking action, so a lot of moisture kind of gets as far as the Green Mountains and then kind of dries on out. Eventually this is going to be overcome. So that'd be 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This is 2 o'clock, 3. We start to break the dam, if you will. 4. We get into 5, 6. And then finally 7 o'clock this evening. It's still snowing lightly. We're not talking about anything major here. And then things do wind down as this area of low pressure powers up a little bit with a little bit of a northwesterly gradient, but not really any strong winds to show for it. And you can see this brings on a much better situation here for Christmas Day with that area of higher pressure building into the region for some dry weather. Looking at the European 6-hourly increments, you can see that little bit of snow shower and flurry activity with a dusting to about an inch across the southern two-thirds of Vermont, less across northern Vermont. And then that clears on out overnight later on this evening and into the overnight period. We have that 1028 hectopascal surface area of higher pressure that builds in for Christmas Day, shown on the European. That's followed by, of course, midday or so on Wednesday, a little shot of reinforcing shot of Arctic air, modified Arctic air with a weak frontal system. That moves on through. It triggers off a little bit of flurry or light snow shower activity on Wednesday. Then as we get into Wednesday night, things cool back down. A bigger area of higher pressure. And then we see the storm system off to the west is starting to gather strength. Note that this is a warm intrusion as this area of higher pressure with its anticyclonic flow spins in, begins to pull up warmer temperatures, and then as that advances east, that precipitation type will run into Vermont. And as that moves into Vermont, this is beginning of Friday morning, I should say. So overnight Thursday night it arrives as probably some light snow, begins to switch out as some mixed precipitation types, mostly affecting southern areas, and then that kind of dry slots, and pretty much it's over with before we change back to a little bit of snow showers. You can see that takes place on Saturday, and then there's this Arctic front. It's pretty well defined right through here, and that's what moves in on Saturday and lowers the temperatures back, brings us a little bit of snow shower activity, and probably 1 to 3 inches, something like that, before another area of higher pressure builds in. I'll take you right through 7 days just to show the next weather system here. It's also going to be another warm intrusion. But it doesn't quite make the cut. Notice that it stays a little bit colder in its northern flank, and that may mean just some snow. Comparing notes with the GFS, or the ensemble GFS, you can see just a little bit of business here. That was the snow shower and flurry activity. This is centered on Montpelier, Vermont. And then this is our rainstorm that's moving on in. One of the ways we can take a look at that, or there's several, but just looking at precipitation type, you can see it starts out as a little bit of snow, mixes with that purple, that's mixed precipitation, and then, of course, it goes all to rain, and then tails off as a little bit of snow shower activity. But that said, that primarily rainfall here, note that it's only 0.6 of an inch, and the outlier is even less than 1 inch amount. So this is not going to be like last week's storm. From the Weather Prediction Center, the total quantitative precipitation forecast totals. This is 1/2 inch or less, 1/4 of an inch. So you can see northern Vermont favored drier over southern Vermont, with the most across southern parts of New England with that next incoming system. Looking at temperature now, centered on the GFS ensemble, you can see that this goes above the 0 degrees centigrade line at the top of Mount Mansfield, 850 hectopascal. So what we're looking at here is the temperature getting up around, it looks like 7-8 degrees centigrade. So pretty warm aloft, and that means rain, and then a crash in the temperature, of course. And so 2-meter temperatures look like this, relatively below freezing, you can see, until we get into the 28th, 29th. And you can see that warm up, and then back to colder weather. And a check on wind, there's still a, looks like a low-level jet. This is why we think there could be potentially some threshold possibilities for some southeasterly winds along the western slopes of the Green Mountains. Again, this is on the front end of that system. And then on the back end, it doesn't appear to be anything major here, at least registered by the GFS ensemble. And back to temperature as we go. We have 12 degrees above normal here. That's this warm intrusion working on in. It's only about 3 to 6 degrees as weighted for the next 5 days. This is only high temperatures only. And then with high temperatures only 3 days later, you can see it's neutral to about 3 degrees, so a little bit of a cooling process. And last but not least, one thing that stands out here is this colder area, anomalous cold that's been taking place most recently across parts of Asia. And that's warmer than normal above that. These two are interlinked. It's a little bit colder now for the world, but still 0.4 of a degree Celsius. Northern Hemisphere, 0.4. Southern Hemisphere, 0.3 of a degree. The Arctic was 1.1 degrees and 1.5 in the Antarctic. They kind of switch places here. And then the tropics about 0.5 degree Celsius. Note the warmth, and note things have cooled down just a little bit in the Arctic. That's it from here. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.